Happy Halloween. In the days leading up to Halloween, with the stores now packed to the gills with things tacky, things pumpkin, and things costume, I thought I'd put a good word in for old school Halloween with actually spooky outfits and characters for kids. But first, a few tidbits about the true origins of Halloween, October 31st. There's one diehard myth out there that says that Halloween was the Catholic Church's attempt to counter the evil effects of Samhain, the Celtic pagan festival. What in the Samhain? While Samhain was the pre-Christian day that marked the beginning of winter in ancient Ireland before St. Patrick and the other missionaries got there, it's just not true that Catholics felt the need to baptize the paganism with something holy and sort of take it over. I think resistance to the idea of spooky costumes like zombies and ghosts is more rooted in the Protestant uncomfortability with the realm of the dead. Let's call it the dead zone. For Protestant Christians, there's heaven and there's hell. There ain't no pre-heaven experience of purgation that Catholics call purgatory. Where's purgatory in the Bible anyway? Didn't God command us not to communicate with the dead? Well, yes, he did. It's called necromancy, and God did forbid it in places like Leviticus 19:31, Leviticus 25 through 8, and Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. Yes, communing with the dead is bad. Don't do it. And the same goes for mediums and psychics and other charlatans. But praying to the saints is our right and duty as Christians. And this is where we come to the origins of Halloween. In the early centuries of the church, there were so many martyrs who gave their lives for Christ, sometimes in groups of them suffering on the same day, the same fate, that the church held joint commemorations to honor them. During the persecution of Diocletian, the number of martyrs became so great, way more than 365, that a separate day could not be assigned to each. So the church appointed a common day for all saints, the known and the unknown. All Hallows Eve is the vigil of that Christian holy day, November 1st. Pope Gregory III established the feast during the 8th century after consecrating a chapel named in honor of all saints in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Pope Gregory IV then set the feast for the universal church, and he made it into a holy day of obligation for all Catholics around the world. Hallows is just an old form of saints. We still say hallowed ground or holy ground. All Hallows Eve, or the eve before the feast commemorating all the saints. So here are 3 reasons why it's okay to dress up not just like saints themselves, like St. Francis of Assisi or St. Thérèse of Lisieux, which is more than cool. Our family's done it as well. But it's also okay to dress in more scary attire, as befits the otherworldly nature of the next day's celebration. Number 1, dressing up in scary costumes can in a certain way neutralize or domesticate evil by exaggerating the qualities that stir up fear in us. By going out as a zombie or a goblin or a skeleton, children have a safe way to domesticate something that otherwise might bother or frighten them. Now, let me hasten to add 2 things. I am not advocating for a blood-soaked costume of an actual serial killer or a card-carrying Satanist or a truly gory getup that will make people upchuck. Nor am I saying, second of all, that it's just dandy for girls to dress up like prostitutes or naughty French maids. And unfortunately, most of those temporary Halloween stores that crop up every October for a couple of weeks and then disappear again sell that kind of immodest and undignified crap. So, not talking about all that. Number 2, movies, plays, and works of literature sometimes present evil themes to reflect the darker part of fallen creation in a way that frames them against hope, gives them some context. In a similar way, one can dress up and point to these realities in a safe way regarding the dangers of this side of creation. If you see yourself as a parent in terms of artistry or craftsmanship, as one who shapes your child's values and perceptions of the world, then what St. John Paul II said in his 1999 letter to artists might make a little more sense. Quote, "Even when they explore the darkest depths of the soul, or the most unsettling aspects of evil, artists give voice in a way to the universal desire for redemption." Unquote. This is somewhat analogous to a scary roller coaster ride. You get in, you strap in, you sit down, you know you're going to take a ride that might make you scream, but can't actually harm you. Likewise, under adult supervision, a spooky costume can be a fun experience of let's pretend. Finally, number 3, Halloween can be presented to kids against the backdrop of the 4 last things: death, judgment, heaven, and hell. It becomes a teachable moment about what feast is happening the next day. By deliberately adopting images that ordinarily would evoke gasps, we can laugh, because the basic fact is that Jesus Christ killed death by his death. The bee stinger of the bee of death was removed by the great act of redemption. And you and I reap the benefits of this in two ways. We don't suffer eternal death in hell, and we're invited to the glorious happiness in heaven. And number two, we participate in the divine nature. This is a mind-blowing, life-changing truth. It's amazing how easy it is to gloss over it, but it's right there in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 4. We share in the divine nature. And when we do that, when we participate in God's own life, we can begin to live Christ's life in our life here below. And not just by imitation. Hey, I want to be really nice like Jesus, but by being inwardly transformed, truly made holy. Not pie in the sky holy, not syrupy, fake, pious holy, but actually holy as God is holy. We live in a culture that denies death. We say, he passed away or she passed. We dress up our dead in their Sunday best. We put makeup on them, and we visit them in a corporate parlor room full of flowers. We look away from death. We shield our eyes from it. We keep it far away from our thoughts. But like the monks of old, who would place a human skull on their desk when they wrote and when they prayed, it's wise to memento mori, to remember death. But in the case of Halloween, we don't stop there. We bring to mind the victory over death as manifest in the victors whose feast day we celebrate the very next day on the Feast of All Saints, November 1st. Besides, as Catholics, we know that the dead zone is a temporary thing, replaced by the endless zone of eternal life in heaven. Wishing you and yours a safe and happy Halloween. Subscribe to this channel. Don't miss a thing. Sign up for Coffin Nation, the largest online community of culture builders in the world, coffinnation.com. All the links are below. Happy and safe Halloween.
Grow up, Patrick.